How is everybody doing today? My name is Master Zero and welcome back to another reaction video. This time we're reacting to A New Decade of War by In a Nutshell. Alright, so I know I usually joke around in my reaction videos and stuff like that, but I feel like this is a way touchy subject, man. Like, I'm talking about, like, actual war that's happening in real life, so I'm gonna keep my jokes at a minimum best way I can, but even though I do crack jokes and stuff in dire situations sometimes just to try to lighten the mood, but, like, onto this subject, man, kind of like how I just stated, you know? Like, this is a very serious subject, and I don't necessarily know if this is gonna talk about, like, just this war that's going on, or, like, just around the horizon, you know? But, like, me being like a stupid American, how I always joke about in the past, like, I know I'm not gonna sit here and like pretend that I know every detail, every fact about what's going on, you know, because I don't, you know, like, as Americans, we're kind of like in our own little bubble and like we pretend to know what's going on and stuff like that, but like we just don't, you know, unless we're like actually in that topic or that situation to begin with, you know. So like I figured that like I'm just gonna keep this at a minimum, and like of course with like almost every Kurzgesagt video I react to, it's like take it with a grain of salt is usually what they say, you know. So like I am gonna like just have the information fed to me in this video, but that's not all. Like, that's not the only information I'm gonna gather. Like, I'm gonna try to gather more information after the video and stuff like that. So I'm very excited to get this going regardless, because it is In a Nutshell. It is like Kurzgesagt. They should like give me some sort of knowledge and like a step in the right direction, you know. So without any further ado, here is Syria, Israel, and Ukraine, A New Decade of War.
10 years ago in 2014, we asked if war was over.
War is never
Based
over.
on long-term trends in the last century, it seemed violent conflict was on the decline and the world more
Isn't it like World War I? They just started it to start it?
Began with the Russian invasion of Ukraine and
They'll
the war
find
between
ways to
Hamas
make
and
war.
Israel. And,
Yeah.
well, a decade later, we could start this video
Oh,
exactly
my.
the same way. But is the world as a whole more violent today? In a nutshell, we made 7 claims.
I think it's the internet's fault, and I'm not gonna lie.
1. We have less conflict deaths than ever. 2. There were almost no more wars between countries.
Almost.
3.
Keyword there.
Democracies don't fight each other. 4. Borders are mostly fixed. 5. Most conflicts are in areas that were under foreign control, either by colonial states or Soviet dictatorships. 6. More civil wars are ending.
That's
by
what I'm
diplomacy.
hoping for, man. Just like
7.
more
We're
civil.
in the
Just
most
sit here and
peaceful
talk
period
to
of
each
history.
other. We don't need to drop bombs,
let's see
man.
how our video has held up.
I'm down. Okay,
let's
it's more of
get
an update
overview of
video. I got
conflicts in
you.
the last decade.
And well,
Some
still
of the
having
deadliest conflicts that were glowing hot in
issues here.
2014 have since ended or significantly cooled down.
I
The
don't know
war in
about significant.
Afghanistan
It
ended
didn't look
with
like
the
it on the map,
victory
at
of
least.
the Taliban. While the civil wars in
Where's
Yemen
Iron Man
and
when you need
Libya
him?
are all still ongoing, they turned mostly into stalemates. The proto-state of ISIS in Iraq and Syria has been wiped out.
Oh, this is
And
like perfect
breaking
music,
news,
though.
The rebels
Oh.
just won the war in Syria last week.
Oh,
The
I did not know that, in all
extremely
honesty.
destructive civil war in South Sudan ended in a fragile peace agreement, despite violence still flaring up in the devastated
Okay,
young
never mind.
country.
I was like, yes,
Sadly,
but
the last decade
there's
saw
always
a
gonna be
bunch of
violence,
new
man.
conflicts erupt,
We don't live in a
or
fictional
old
world.
Unresolved issues turn violent. One of the main claims of our video 10 years ago
That's like
was
Risk
that
or something,
wars
dude.
today are not
Except, you know,
between
real.
countries, and this is still largely true. Civil wars are by far the most common type of state-based conflict.
That's very
in the
true.
world. We'd wager that
I'd
most
argue
of you
that
have
America's
never
on the
heard about
horizon
one
of
the
doing a
deadliest
civil war again.
Wars in decades, the 2020 Tigray War in Ethiopia.
I know nothing
It
about
ended in
this.
2022 with the victory of the Ethiopian and Eritrean government forces against rebel groups. Exact death tolls are unknown.
I mean, is that
but they
good?
may
Star
exceed
Wars taught me
half
that
a
rebels are the
million,
good guys.
Mostly civilians.
I know that has to do
Aside
with
from
war.
Tigray, a number
George
of new
Lucas,
civil
anyway.
wars have broken out since 2014. Although new is a bit misleading, since the underlying issues were brooding at a smaller scale for a
Okay,
long time.
I got you. It's like
The
it's not
deadliest have been
new
the Sudan
topics,
Civil
it's just
War,
new
the civil war in
war.
Yemen, and the civil war in Myanmar.
A lot of civil
Multiple
wars.
nations in Africa like Mali, Nigeria, Somalia, Burkina Faso, and Mozambique are suffering from Islamist insurgencies
man.
that destabilize countries and have cost tens of thousands of civilian lives.
That's what I hate, man, the
Lastly, there are nearly
civilians.
60 smaller unresolved
literally did not
state-based
ask for
conflicts
this.
around the world, many going on for decades, that are smoldering but have a relatively low death toll in comparison. Maybe the
In
worst
comparison,
news
I
is that
guess,
we've been
yeah,
seeing
but death is
interstate
death,
wars
man.
again. There was the short-lived 2020 war between Azerbaijan and Armenia, which redrew contested borders. Then there's the latest war between Israel and Hamas.
So people
that
cannot
turned
get
into
along
a
of any
regional
caliber.
crisis.
starting to understand that.
What is certainly the most disturbing new development is the full-scale
More
invasion
disturbing than what you just showed me?
by Russia. It's
yeah,
the first
okay.
large-scale interstate war in 20 years, and the first war since World War II where a major power is trying to conquer territory.
Almost talked about
and
World War
subjugate
II.
another
I decided to
state.
talk about World War One.
It followed an 8-year conflict that started with the 2014 Russian annexation of Crimea and the war in the Donbass.
Oh, I know
Exact
nothing
casualty
about
rates
this,
for
man.
wars since 2022 are hard to verify, but they go as high as hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, just assuming those are bodies.
Okay,
My
so
God.
what about our 2014 claims? If we add up the numbers, we see a few things. Roughly between
still
2004
dead.
and 2014, there were
Oh my
about
God.
350,000 deaths from state-based conflicts worldwide. They were
Yeah, but
going
is
down
it
from
go-
2014
okay.
to 2019.
I was like, does
and
it
then
go up
rose
from there?
sharply in 2021.
Ah, Jesus Christ, come
In
on.
total, from 2014 to 2024, we saw about 1.2
You gonna blame COVID
million
like you did
deaths.
everything else?
If we include all violent conflicts like the Mexican drug war, the number rises to
Oh.
1.5 million,
Yeah.
3 times higher than the previous decade. Actually, 2022
like sex,
had the
drugs, and
highest
violence. You
death
put
toll
any
from
of those in
violent
anything,
conflict
the number's
since
gonna
the Rwandan
rise,
genocide
casualties.
in 1994. The Tigray War and the war in Ukraine alone were responsible for the majority of
Good
lives lost,
God.
as both wars involved armies of hundreds of thousands of soldiers, sometimes thrown against entrenched positions.
Okay, I was kind of
in
assuming it
human
was the
wave attacks.
civil people
So,
side.
The last 3 years have
Just
been
normal
unusually
people having to
violent.
go through
But
that.
if we zoom out a bit more, we can put those numbers into perspective. A terrible
Okay.
thing, but nowhere near how bad it can get when the world
That's
goes to war.
fair. I was about to
In
say,
the
that's World
grand
War
scheme
II,
of
I know.
things, we are
The
still
date,
living
at least.
in relatively peaceful times. But the next
I mean,
decade
in
will show if the
comparison, I
trend will
guess.
reverse,
Okay.
Or if the last few
I was
years
getting
were
there.
an anomaly. Unfortunately, there have been proper wars between states again, so our prediction on wars between countries didn't hold up.
Oof.
What is as true today as in 2014
God,
is
give me
that almost
some
all
positive,
armed
man.
conflicts in the world are in
Not
countries
just
that were
compared to
under
in the
foreign
past, it's
occupation
positive.
in the
Nah,
20th
I want
century,
actual
either
positivity.
by colonialism or by the expansive Soviet dictatorship. Ethnic groups were split apart or forced together by arbitrary borders, resources unequally distributed, or power vacuums
the keyword
created,
forced
which
there?
led to conflicts that are in many cases still unresolved. There have also been no wars between democracies who seem uniquely unwilling
mean, I
to
guess
fight
that's
each other.
fair.
So compared to the last century,
Yeah, just
it's
fighting
still
for the
true
sake of
that war
doing
between
it.
nations is still an exception rather than the rule.
Oh,
On the
okay.
other hand, we see fewer civil wars end by diplomacy. Instead, there's an increase
That's
in
the
either
one I
victories
wanted.
or stalemates. These often aren't.
Why can't we
permanent
just talk
resolutions
it
to the
out, man?
conflict,
We're
only
people at the
pauses
end
in
of the
fighting,
day. A
because
human's
the
a human.
underlying causes haven't been solved. For our claim about borders, we can see that most international borders in the world still hold up and are not challenged, but there are still a few dozen territorial
Okay.
disputes in the world, most of them in Africa
I was gonna
and
count
Asia.
it as a positive.
And some are getting
keep
hotter,
dishing out the
like
negatives
border
on me.
clash between India
I don't care
and
how small
China
they are,
over
man.
Aksai Chin and Arunachal Pradesh. China's claim to Taiwan,
China.
or Venezuela threatening to annex part of Guyana's oil-rich province Essequibo. One thing that makes wars so deadly is that they're often supported by external powers. Many
That's
countries
true.
are providing
The ones at the
support
top wanna stay
or
on top.
arming up different sides or factions.
In a country like
the
America,
competition
they
between
like
Saudi
getting
Arabia
profit
and Iran
because of
for
war.
hegemony, with Iran being the main supporter for the Houthis, Hezbollah, or Hamas.
I
Or
know
in the
nothing about
Ukrainian
those
war,
groups.
With the West supporting Ukraine, while China, Iran, and North Korea support Russia. But it's not just
China and
countries.
North America are
External
heavy
powers
hitters.
Keeping conflicts alive can also be Islamist groups like ISIS or
Oh,
criminal
I know
networks,
ISIS. Hey.
or even local elites that benefit from their own country being torn apart and effectively.
Yeah, that's what I was
prevent
talking about, man.
conflicts
The
from
people on
ending.
top want conflict.
The end of the
It's
rules-based
sad.
world. There's a lot of debate among experts about what factors make the world more or less peaceful, but there are no easy answers.
That's
One
fair,
of the major
man.
reasons the world has seen less conflict
Ooh, Cold
was that
War.
after the end of the Cold War, many
I was
countries
right.
expected a sort of rules-based world order, and for a time, this
Yeah, I was about to say,
worked
where are
somewhat.
they in all
But
this?
things have been changing in the last few years.
Didn't we make that
The
group
world has
because
become
of
multipolar,
conflict?
with new
Not doing
alliances
it
forming,
again?
and the idea of a rules-based world is being challenged. China's manufacturing capacity is now as big as the US and Europe's combined.
Oh,
With its
wow.
massive economic development,
I know
a new
China had to do it.
superpower has risen.
Ooh, there it is.
It's common knowledge that the US spends
wondering when
more on its
Russia-
military than
I know
any
they talked
place
about him in the past
world,
already, but
this may no longer reflect the true balance of power. China doesn't report all of its military spending like the US does, and it
Oh.
gets a lot more done.
Even
with
then,
each
what is the
equivalent
Pentagon,
dollar
like,
spent.
failed another
Recent
audit?
estimates trying
I
to
don't think
account
we
for
do
these
either.
differences tell us China's effective military budget is now a significant portion of the United States' budget.
Wow.
And with Russia breaking the taboo of
Honestly,
launching
didn't know
the
our
first
budget was
war
that
of
big.
conquest by a major
Maybe we should
power in
bump it
almost
down.
80 years, Europe has
Since we
begun
don't know where the
process
money's
of
going.
rearming. It is slow because, well, Europe is slow, but it is happening. We're in the transition
that's
to a
sad,
multipolar
man.
world again.
It's like
with
it's still
different
happening,
nations
though.
and alliances claiming spheres of power they want to dominate. In this climate, tensions and conflicts
starting to
between
think it's just the
states
people
have been
in
rising,
power.
even if most
It's
of
their
them have
problem.
not turned into wars yet.
Who cares
So,
if we kill civilians,
is war
right?
over? The
No.
clear answer is no. And the direction we're headed in doesn't seem great.
Oh,
But with all the
great.
gloom, it's also true that we are still in a peaceful period of world history, and the deaths by
I feel
war
like World
are
War
still
III is like
at
right
historic
above,
lows.
like right on the horizon,
The
man.
world
It's
is at a
scary.
crossroads. We'll do another update video in 2034. Let's all hope we'll have better news for you then.
God, we could only hope, man. Oh my God.
Getting reliable information
Again,
is
another,
hard
like,
enough,
depressing
but it gets
video.
impossible to know what you can believe when misinformation and propaganda are used
Hey,
as
I was
yet
just talking about
another
this.
weapon in
Even
armed
this video
conflicts.
alone, take it with a grain of
It's
salt,
important
man.
to seek nuanced and diverse perspectives, which is why ground news.
There it
who's
is.
kindly
I was
sponsoring
hoping.
this
Oh
video,
man, the
is so
perfect
important.
advertisement.
In a nutshell, the app
I'm
and
actually
the
really
website
starting to
gather
like
the
this
world's
group.
news in one place, so you can compare coverage, see the bigger picture, and make
100%,
informed
man.
decisions.
Don't just take
Take
one
reporting
person's
on
word
Russia's
for
and
it.
North
Take
Korea's
everyone's
recent
word
defense
for it.
treaty.
Try to
There
piece
are
it together
hundreds of
yourself.
headlines on this globally, including from many sources on the ground like Korea and Russia. Some
Oh.
report it as a defense deal.
Oh, that's-
Others call it
I was talking
an
about that at the beginning,
alliance
man.
Or strategic partnership.
It's like, I don't know
which
because I'm
creates
not
very
there.
Different images. The interesting insight
Oh,
is
that
how
changes
most of the
everything.
sources are government affiliated, which presumably affects their choice of framing.
100%.
Reading the news this way,
Like I
lets
kept
you
saying in this
compare
video, man, the
different
people on the
perspectives in
top
one
pretty
place,
much
see how
tell you what to
narratives
do.
and possibly public
La
opinion
Belgique.
could change. You also get a sense of
Oh.
the bigger picture and how much weight a
That's
story
important.
really carries to tell apart
Hey,
reason from racket.
Scooby-Doo.
Go to
Scooby Bird.
ground.news/KIN or scan the QR code to check it out. With
Let's
the
go, man.
Vantage Plan, you
Like I
can
said,
even
this was the
keep yourself in
perfect
check.
sponsor or
For
advertisement,
example,
whatever you
your
want to call it.
personalized My News Bias dashboard gives you insights about your potential blind spots and enables you
Oh.
to broaden your perspectives by actively seeking
This is some new information than the last ad I
outside your
watched.
typical sources. Sign up through this QR code or our link
I
below
just might.
for 50% off this unlimited
We get
access
another
plan.
50.
It's their biggest discount of the year, whether for yourself or as a gift. We think
I
they're
might
doing an
actually do it,
important
man,
job, especially today. Check them out to get the tools to think for yourself.
Yes, 100%. Like I kept saying, man, that's the most
The
important
new
thing.
2025 Human Era
Still on that
calendar
calendar.
is finally here. We think it's the best calendar
I guess this
we
is
ever
the
made,
positivity
and
in the
we
video.
created it all for you.
Even though it's
not
like,
just the
you kept
vibrant
saying, like, in
illustrations, the
comparison from the
high-quality paper
past,
on
like, we're
the
not
cover.
nearly
It's
there
the
yet,
fact
but
that it
why be
represents
there
such
at
an
all?
important part of our shared history. We hope that you'll use it to continue writing
Ducky
history,
Day.
and we know that it will look great on your wall
Oh,
or
yes.
as a gift for a special burb in your life.
Again with a gift.
As you've told us in hundreds of reviews, comments, and messages, the calendar is very special to you too. For so many of you, getting the Human Era calendar has become a yearly tradition. And
That's
a
pretty
daily
cool, I'm not
source
gonna
of
lie.
Inspiration. Make 12,025
It's like an advent calendar,
truly
just
special,
first to
and
get
join
calendar
us in
every year.
celebrating this time-honored tradition.
Let's go.
The calendar is available
Trying to get
exclusively
more
on
into
our
the
shop.
positive side, man,
We've
after
also
that
prepared
video.
a few bundles
I don't
with
like
some
war
of
at
our
all.
favorite products. Get this piece of our shared history and an essential part of Kurzgesagt.
Wah. Ah, a little early. Alright, so I'm not gonna, like I said in the intro, man, I'm not gonna sit here and like, oh, I know everything now. Like, no, that's not necessarily what this video is about. Like, take it with a grain of salt, like I kept saying, and like they say in a bunch of their videos, like, we don't, like, kind of like I said at the intro again, like, we don't necessarily, or at least me, this is just my final thought section, like, I don't know what's going on at all, like, anywhere outside of America. Hell, even, like, America, half the time, I don't know what's happening, you know? So, like, us being in this, like, little boat, or I should say me, because me being in, in like a little niche bubble, you know, like trying to like just, oh, why can't we just like solve conflict with like just talking and stuff like that, you know? But like sadly that's not the case in a lot of different places. Like pretty much the vast majority of the world isn't gonna be like that. Like I said, like we're not living in a fictional world, so like it still like saddens me so freaking much, like just the civilian side of it. Like just because these like people in power, like they want conflict, they want war because they profit off of it, and like that's so freaking backwards to me. It's like why put your people that you're in charge of, why put them at risk just for profit? Like that makes no freaking sense. It's kind of like that other video I talked about, don't remember the topic, but I was saying like just because money's involved like shouldn't matter. Oh, it was the freaking medicine. Like just because like the profit isn't there, like why do we stop helping people? Like that's so freaking backwards and stupid in my opinion. But like this video is kind of in the same vein, just like on a way grander scale, man. Instead of medicine, it's just like senseless war, like just killing people for the sake of doing it seems. And like I hate that so freaking much. So like the fact that like war, in my opinion, war's never gonna change, it's never gonna end, like unless we have like, I don't know, like freaking robots in charge or something like that. But even then, like we don't know their agenda, and that goes into the freaking do we trust AI thing, like the king and the golem and all that. But like it's just so wacky to me, like in the worst ways possible, man. Like I literally cannot comprehend it. And like this video definitely shed light in that topic, like I was talking about at the intro, you know, like don't take this as just like a one and done, like all the facts in this video. Like no, like kind of like their freaking sponsor, you know, like use your own evidence and search your own topics and stuff like that to like gather information of what's really going on. Because like obviously every news organization is going to try to like spin their narrative the way they want and stuff like that. And like to me that's so freaking shady, man. Like we need like the truth. Like the truth is the number one important thing, but like it's so mucky and clouded. And just going back to the money, like if there's profit involved in lying, then 100% you're gonna bet that they're gonna lie to you. So like I can't really trust anything, if that makes any sense, even Kurzgesagt, sadly. But like I do like how their video was like orchestrated in a way, because it was like kind of like every single one of their videos, it's like, okay, here's the facts, and if we don't know the facts, then we're gonna tell you we don't know, you know? So it's kind of like a hit and miss, I guess, lack of a better word. So I'm gonna stop babbling, or I'd literally talk about the subject forever, man, because like it's so like I'm so passionate in it, man. Like I'm just like obviously like living with like superheroes and stuff like that my entire life. I don't understand why they're not real. Like it literally saddens me so freaking much that like war and everything, there's no one like with a greater purpose to stop it, it seems. And it's just, it really sucks. It really does. So I'm gonna stop babbling at this point, man. But man, my heart breaks for all the civilians, like I almost said responsible, but all the civilians that are like caught up in this freaking, like, in my opinion, senseless war. It like really makes no sense to me. So thank you everybody so much for watching. Leave a like down below, subscribe, ring the bell, become a member. You get videos a day early, and check out the merch. So with that said, I have been Master Zero. Y'all guys have been fantastic, and I'll see y'all in the next episode. Later days.